Everyone, it's me, Skin Glow and Afro, and I am back to do another YouTube video today. Now, I wanted to come in here to remind people that today is the last day to register to vote. Now, if you don't know, the general election is being held here in the UK on the 12th of December, and today at midnight is basically when it's like, nope, you ain't got no more time. So basically, listen, if you haven't registered to vote, you need to be registering to vote, because we cannot continue on with another Tory party going on for however long it is that is going on in the UK today. We need something to be done, because if you don't know about the whole situation, I've explained it here before, but basically, the whole Brexit situation is a complete mess. I don't even know if we're going to end up leaving. However, if there was to decide no longer to leave Europe, that's also going to be a big challenge. So it's kind of like we're in a rock and a hard place. The second thing I wanted to address is the whole Rinwis situation. We do not need this Rinwis situation to continue on for however long it's going to continue on for, because people are dying, and I'm going to do separate videos on this whole Rinwis situation, because I need to do another update, because people are dying. And the most recent guy, he's still alive. However, he has problems with his feet and he needs surgery to be done, but because he is not entitled to work in this country, because he's basically finding out he's having troubles with his citizenship, which is, he's 44 years old. That's still quite young, and to have to deal with all this nonsense, and he's not even entitled to NHS treatment so that he can have surgery on his feet, even though they say that healthcare is supposed to be universal, as in everybody is entitled. The third thing I wanted to address is this whole Grenfell situation. Now, about the whole Grenfell situation and the legacy that's left behind. Now, it's also come out recently, I believe it was yesterday, that there is actually quite a number of high-rise buildings here in the UK that have that flammable cladding on it, especially in student accommodation. So what does that tell you? Student accommodation should not be having flammable cladding on it. Excuse me. People who are staying in student accommodation generally are quite young. So thinking about that whole situation, why on earth would you have flammable cladding on that building? And a couple of weeks ago, there was a fire in Manchester, I believe it was, at student accommodation, and and thank God nobody died from that, but they had flammable cladding on it. And this is what I'm saying: the Tory government, they need to go. Honestly, they need to go, because this is becoming a joke. Thing I wanted to address is universal credit. If you don't know about universal credit was created to get rid of a whole load of benefits that used to be there, and then they decided to put them all into one, which is universal credit. Now, basically with universal credit, you get paid £300 per month, whereas before, job seekers allowance, you would get paid, I believe it was around 50 quid every 2 weeks, which is still not enough, but technically it will work out better rather than getting paid once a month. Now you get paid £300 a month. The problem with universal credit is that when you first start up a new claim to get universal credit, what happens is there is usually a delay between when you register, sign up, and when you actually get paid, unless you actively ask for an advancement on your payment. Then you will not receive money for quite a long time. I mean, you'll sign up 1 week, you have your appointment the next week, so that you can get your special number, so you can access the system, and then they say, oh, you'll get paid the next month. So technically it's coming up to like 6 weeks before you get paid. So someone who either has low income or has no income waiting for 6 weeks, especially if they have children, is not even making any sense, especially when you expect them to go and look for work. How are they supposed to look for work when they don't have enough money to go look for work. Bothers me because a lot of people who are on universal credit is designed to help people, but yet these people are, you know, having to access food banks. Why should a person have to access a food bank if the Tory government has said, yes, we're going to give you universal credit, but they do not explain to you all the things that this benefit actually does. The old system was far better. Now a lot more people are working, they're in poverty, they're on universal credit, they're in poverty, having to access food banks. I mean, imagine having to take your children to a food bank just so they can have food in their belly at night time. Nobody wants to be doing that, but that is the situation that they've been pushed into, because the Tory government, instead of improving things for people for the whole of the UK, they're instead making things worse. And I just honestly think this is ridiculous. This should not be happening. It's 2019. As someone said on Twitter today, it seems like we're going back into the Victorian era. It really does seem like. To end this video, because I don't want this video to be too long. Number 5, to end this video, I really want to talk about the whole racism issue, because as we know, Boris Johnson is a hardcore racist. Okay, he's racist, he's Islamophobic. These are not me saying things to slander him. This is me telling the absolute truth. You know, like, he has a history of being racist, and I don't understand how we could have had Theresa May, who was in you know, the former prime minister. She was also racist, and now we've got another racist person in the lead of the Tory party. It does not make any sense. And yet the whole Tory party, instead of like last week, they had their little, you know, question time, whatever, and instead of talking about their policies, they were just slandering Labour. And I'm thinking to myself, if your policies are so great, why can you not voice them? Why can you not say them? Why are you just focusing your attention on slandering Labour? That doesn't even make any sense whatsoever to me at all. Like, you're supposed to focus on the task at hand, which is telling people your policies to improve things, but instead you're not doing that. Instead you're just focusing on slandering Labour. And I'm like, I forgot number 6. I wasn't going to do a number 6, but you know what, let me get it out there. Basically, last week it was reported that a mental health nurse committed suicide because she felt that the number of hours she was having to do at work was impeding on her ability to have a social life, and she was 35 years old. She wanted to have children. Her name was Lorna. She was a black woman, and she originally wanted to go to university to study occupational therapy, but instead, you know, to be an occupational therapist, but instead she ended up doing mental health nursing. She ended up doing mental health nursing and psychology, and she never wanted to do that in the first place. And I do believe that is, from reading the article, I do believe that is where her depression started from. The simple fact that she never wanted to do mental health nurse in the first place. I'm not sure of the reason why she chose to go down that route. There was an explanation for that. It just simply said that she wanted to become an occupational therapist, but instead she did mental health nursing, and she never wanted to do that in the first place. And I also find it really sad that her manager, instead of, like, you know, giving condolences and everything about her taking her own life, they simply stated she was so capable of doing the job. But I'm thinking to myself, what does being capable mean in the long run when you feel so disheartened? And I know a lot of people say, well, no job, you should never end your life over a job. And I'm thinking to myself, how ridiculous are you to be saying such foolishness like that? You're really not understanding it. It's not just about, if a person is depressed, right, severely depressed, as in they literally are so anxious to go to work, they don't want to go to work, them quitting that job is not going to heal them instantly. You keep saying, why didn't she just quit the job? You can tell, right, if you read the article, she was depressed. So therefore, her just quitting the job is not going to help the situation. If she had quit the job, Yeah. Then it's basically gonna be a case of money worries. When I'm gonna get money for to do this, to do that, you know? It's hard to have a social life if you don't have any money. And if you're working long, disgusting hours, then you're not social life either. And also, her boyfriend broke up with her a week before she took her own life. So she wanted to settle down, she wanted to have children. And it's really sad, especially as a black woman. I can actually relate to that, feeling as if sometimes your career does take precedent over, wanting to settle down. I do understand that. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, she should never taken her own life. Never let your a job become more important than your own life. But at the end of the day, your self-worth, once it's diminished to a certain point, you cannot even rationalize the idea of just quitting your job. You keep getting these thoughts in your head to take your own life. This idea of just quitting, that's not even a thought in most people's heads. Now the Tory government has proposed that they want to get 50,000 more nurses into NHS hospitals. And I'm thinking to myself, let's be realistic. 50,000 nurses, even though the Tory government has cut the bursary, and the nursing courses are no longer free. Before, the NHS used to pay for it. It's no longer free. So where you gonna get the incentives for nurses, for people to want to sign up to UCAS to do the nursing courses, if there is no incentive there? There's no bursary no more. It's no longer free. The wards are severely understaffed. That's why the nurses who are already there are being worked to death, because they literally have no choice. The NHS is crumbling because there's not enough staff, and yet you want to get 50,000 new nurses, but yet you're not explaining the incentives in this video here. So I'm going to post a link down below for anybody who does not know where you need to register. So please register. I've been registered to vote since I was 18, but I've not always voted. Oh, and another little fact that I found out yesterday, that one incentive for you to register to vote is that it improves your credit score. So there's one little reason for you to vote. Plus, we don't need no more racism. We don't need no more bigotry. We don't need no more understaffing in the NHS, because this is ridiculous. You understand?